Welcome friends, it is the 5th day of Christmas and my true love gave to me some homemade beeswax wraps. Maybe you're familiar with these. They come in these types of packaging when you buy them. And if you have no interest in learning how to make your own, I will link this down below on Amazon so you can actually buy yourself some also. I love these wraps. It's really just a cotton piece of fabric that is coated in beeswax, usually either jojoba oil or sweet almond oil, and then some pine resin. And so that's what we're gonna make today. We're gonna melt those 3 items together, brush them on some already previously washed, and then with pinking shears, cut the edges just like this. It helps the edges from fraying when you use that pinking shear. Can you see that? There you go. So we're gonna melt everything together, brush this on, and then let it dry. And it becomes this really great semi-tacky wrap. It's eco-friendly, reusable, much better for you and your food than the traditional plastic wrap. So here's some that comes in that package. And you can use all different types of different fabrics, different colors, different patterns, designs, but you can see then what this looks like. And so then if this were my bowl, I would literally just wrap it around like this. And that's just what I use all the time for my sourdough or anything else that I even keep on the counter or in the refrigerator. It's very multi-useful. So while the beeswax and the pine resin are in their microwave, I turned my oven on to 300 degrees. And I did not yet add my almond oil to the mixture in the microwave. Because that's already at a liquid state, I'll just add that in once that is all melted. Once it is melted, the oil is added. I have an old paintbrush here that I'm going to use to brush the mixture onto the fabric. I have it on top of a cutting board with a piece of parchment paper so that any of the drippings can actually just go onto the parchment paper. But once we have it brushed throughout the fabric, I'm going to put the piece of fabric on top of a cookie sheet, the cookie sheet's upside down, and into a 300 degree oven. All that does is smooth out any of the lumps of what may have occurred from the brushing, and then we take it out and let it dry. Okay, it was in the microwave for about 3.5 to 4 minutes. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of the oil. Stir that around, make sure we get all of the solids out. You can also do this over a double boiler on the stove. Just be aware because this is very hot. Beeswax heats up at a very high temperature. So all I'm going to do is take my paintbrush and start to brush it on. And you don't need to flip it over, you're just doing the one side because the wax mixture does permeate through the cotton. I also want to say you want to be careful to use literally 100% cotton. You don't want to be using polyester or any other blends, and you don't want to be using any type of thicker canvas cotton, right? It needs to be a cotton that is pretty thin and pliable. When I say pliable, right, because when you're putting this mixture on, it makes it a little bit thicker and stiffer so that you can use it, but you don't want anything that is going to be too stiff and bunch up. Okay, so do you see some of the pieces, right, like some of the drips? It's a little bit thicker in other areas. So what I'm going to do is now put this on my cookie sheet in the 300 degree oven, and it will just kind of melt everything a little bit better and make it nice and smooth. We're only gonna keep it in the oven for about 2 minutes. And again, it's just to really make sure we've got our melted beeswax, resin, oil mixture nice and smooth throughout the fabric. But while that's in the oven for those 2 minutes, I'm going to get my next piece lathered up. Okay, so I put that second one in. This one is done. Look how pretty that looks. So what I'm finding when I take this off is that I really need to take it outside to dry pretty fast so that there are no clumps on the parchment paper that attach themselves to the fabric. So I've got 3 done, I've got 5 more to go. I'm just gonna continue with this process. So you can see me brushing the melted wax mixture on, putting in the oven, and as soon as it comes out of the oven, I'm taking it off that parchment and checking the back. I noticed with the first one, I let it on just like a little bit too long, maybe a minute or 2. And so some of the mixture that kind of dries on the parchment paper stuck to the fabric, and I didn't want to have those globs. So I just flipped it and put it back in the oven. But now as soon as it comes out, I'm putting it outside to dry. So I'm gonna get these finished. So I finished all 8 sheets. It took about 30 to 35 minutes to get everything done. And remember, I started out with a double batch of that recipe. I actually needed to make one more single batch to finish everything. But once they dry outside, which takes minutes, it doesn't take long at all, especially on a cool, crisp day today, they look great. And so I've just been taking a larger one and a small one and kind of folding them and bundling them together so they're ready for Christmas gifts. It was so much easier than I thought it was going to be. I have to say, I was rather intimidated to do this, not necessarily because of the difficulty, but just the time to do it with life around. But I did it. I'm so glad I did. I hope you'll consider making your own beeswax wraps, if not for anyone else, but for yourself. And if it's not your thing, but you're interested in trying them out, like I said, I'll link below to the bees wraps and you can try them for yourself. Thanks for joining me today on day 5 of our Christmas gift giving. I'll see you tomorrow. Stay healthy, stay well. Bye-bye.